when employers are wanting to show appreciation and recognition to their employees, the cost and the pain of giving a gift is not often worth the benefit we get. Gifts in general are not bad. People are always going to appreciate gifts, whether it's gift cards or tokens of appreciation. But when you are recognizing an employee, you want them to receive how much you value them being here and doing what they do, and that you see them. Your gift option is your least valuable. All the generations, Boomer, Gen X, Millennials, even Gen Zs now, when they're given multiple options of how to receive appreciation for their employer, they just don't value gifts.
Really interesting. And I wonder how much of it is how much thought the employer puts into the gift. You know, we all have that uncle who like gives us the most bizarre gift. Like I'm not an outdoorsman. I've got an uncle who like for years was giving me like tents and a hatchet one year. And what is he doing? Like, why is he giving me? So I think employers often do that as well. They do generic gifts or something like that. And all that does is highlight that they don't really know you beyond your work self. So I think, did that come into play with this article that you saw at all? Like, is that a piece of it? Like, it's not the right gift, or is it gifts in general don't work?
Yeah, I think if the intent is missed, then it's even less valuable as a gift. You know, if a supervisor got a batch of gifts to give out to their team, if they're each given with a personalized note that indicates that the supervisor has been watching and does value the employee, then what's received is more valuable than just the gift. It's that note that gives the value to the employee and says, okay, they know I'm here. They know how much 2020 stunk. And even though I didn't get that bonus that I really needed to get this year, you know, I'm valued. And then it becomes, not just the gift that may or may not hit the mark.
Right, right. And I also see this issue with gifts. So I am, like, my gut reaction when you earlier on LinkedIn said something about, gift giving and what do you think about giving gifts for employers to give gifts? My gut reaction is no. And I know that that's an overreaction because sometimes it seems appropriate and it's great. The problem is that in our line of work, I think you would probably agree here. Often we see that things like gifts are sort of used as tools that the employer or manager completely misses the mark. So in other words, I was just talking with someone whose employer had burnt trust, like completely just burned it to the ground over COVID, right? Which is very easy to do. And I'm sure the employer had the best interests in mind, and that's where fundamental attribution error and all these biases come in. But it doesn't matter what the reality on the ground was. The fact of the matter was that the employee perceived that the employer didn't care about them. And so the employer saw this and wanted to show that they cared. And so they purchased a gift. But that gift was then seen as an insult because you just don't get it. I remember, I learned this very early in my marriage, that if I forget my anniversary, the worst idea in the world is to try to buy my wife off with an expensive gift afterwards, right? And sometimes that's what gifts look like. Have you seen this in your line of work?
Yeah. I think it can be, definitely miss the mark. As employers, we can kind of feel like, okay, we checked the box. They saw that I care about them. Right. And then we move on to other things that are more important or pressing. But yes, following that all the way through and understanding if it was or wasn't received and if we need to give more attention is really important.
Right. Kind of like the proverbial pizza party. It's like, we're going to abuse the heck out of you, and then we're going to have a pizza party to show you we still love you.
Yeah.
And I've been in those situations in my early career in middle management where it's like, we bring in the pizza and you're getting some ugly glares from the employees, and you're like, I got you pizza. What else do I need to do? But of course there's so much else you need to do.
Yeah.
It doesn't hit the mark.
Mm-hmm. I kind of feel like that proverbial pizza party in the last few months has been the heroes work here sign in front of the company.
Yes.
Which, you know, I know nothing about the companies that place these, and some of them that might be well received by employees. But if I have been abused or felt neglected and abused by my employer and I drive into work past that sign, it's not helping things. Just
Right.
like pizza party.
Right. Unless you actually feel that your employer thinks of you as a hero. And then that's a whole nother thing. But it always goes back for me to Maslow, you know, the hierarchy of needs. And Maslow talks about these lower two levels being physiological and safety. And I always talk to people about the fact that the physiological and safety needs, they're very extrinsic, like they're very easy to fulfill, right? Give me money and give me job security, done. And that's why we sort of stay there instead of ever moving up to self-esteem and self-actualization, relationships, right? We stay on the bottom rungs because it's easy, and we don't put in the hard work to actually connect on a deeper level with our employees and get to know what's really going on with them. And then during the pandemic, it ends up being even more difficult because now you don't have those accidental bump-ins where you can catch up with somebody. You can have some small talk, so it needs to be more purposeful. Do you have any strategies for that? How employers can make that happen now?
I think pandemic or not, employee appreciation, for it to be received, your frontline supervisors and managers, whatever it is that's right on that front line, they have to fully understand and be engaged with that process. Because no matter what you put out at the top for all the employees to receive, yeah, it needs to have that personalized touch, thought to be received the way you want it to be received. And the only people that can do that are the direct supervisors.
Right.
So, and that's only magnified now because we don't have those bump-ins and those other opportunities for employees to understand how the company values them.
Right, right. So if you're an employer and you're looking to do something for your employees, and now we're confusing the heck out of them saying, no, stop, you know, at least I'm doing that. You're putting little contingencies on it. I'm saying, don't give a gift because you're probably misguided, you know,
Okay.
and I'm a bit of an alarmist like that. But for those employers who are seeing this and thinking, well, what the heck should I do? What can they do to show appreciation for their employees right now?
I think a really easy way to think through this is love languages. Whether or not you're into love languages or not, it is a framework you can use when it comes to showing recognition and appreciation to your employees. You know, we can't do touch right now because there's COVID. We're letting you know that gifts aren't gonna have the power that you really want to be behind your recognition, but you have words, you have time together somehow. There's other ways that you can show this. Personalization is always going to be powerful. And how your supervisors show personalization, they can decide that when it comes to their team. They're the ones that understand each team member that they supervise.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I learned a little bit about the love languages when I discovered that my wife's love language is me doing the dishes, unfortunately, because I hate doing the dishes. But apparently that's the only way I can show her that I love her.
It
But
sounds
yeah,
like
I
a
love
keep the service.
right. But I love that because you brought it full circle back to it needs to be personalized. And if you don't understand what your employee is desiring, what makes them feel loved, for lack of a better word, you know, appreciated, then you can't show them proper appreciation. And it really comes back to knowing them. I would say that in my experiences, what I find works better than anything and really drives home the message of what this is all about is there's no better gift that you could give, in my opinion, as the employer than jumping in and lifting some of the workload. And by that, I don't mean sending the person home and here's a vacation. I think that sends really mixed messages. You're doing a great job, so we're going to give you a week off. Well, that's a disconnect for me because really in the perfect workplace, everybody's engaged in trying to add to the mission and make a difference. But for the employer or supervisor to jump in and say, what can I do to help? and take some of the more meaty, like the more sort of granular tasks, the stuff that the person hates doing. And you should know your person enough, your people enough to know what they hate doing, to jump in there and sort of take some of that mundane work away from them so they can focus on what it is that they are really there to do, what actually lights their fire. I think that is a gift. And maybe I'm just putting my love language onto everybody else, but I've seen that works. That shows that an employer gets it.
Mm-hmm. Or even let them swap tasks within the team, because that builds and if we like who we work with,
right,
that can help us stick around longer. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, bending the definition of tasks have to be done by this role or by this person.
Right. Yes. Awesome. Wow, this is great. So, Britni, how can people get in touch with you? Because we're like posting this on LinkedIn or something. So
yes, I'm very active on LinkedIn. My company, Gen Elevate, GEN Elevate, is very active as well. I would love to talk with people about engagement, whether it is in that team level or an overarching department manager viewpoint, what you can do to really get your arms around this, get your best people to stick with you.
Nice. And Britni is my go-to when it comes to generational differences within the workplace. And, I'm always saying there's no such thing as generations and whatever. But the truth is that whether it's because it's a generation or because of their life stage in the organization, regardless of why there are differences in the moment. And anybody who's ever worked with people of a different generation know that there are things that need to be worked out. And Britni is the expert on that. I'm David Shar, and I help organizations build burnout-proof cultures. We go way beyond resilience and talk about burnout-proof cultures. What is baked into your corporate culture right now that's causing burnout to begin with? How can we fix it so that it's never a problem? So you can find me on LinkedIn as well. We'll both be tagged in this post. We hope you enjoyed listening in on our conversation.